Yeah. What's the word?
What's poppin', bro?
Man, welcome to the the newest episode. I don't even know if these are episodes. These are just
Good conversations, man.
builds. They're
Yeah.
builds. That's what they are. They builds.
Check.
Um
New
yeah,
brand alert.
but yeah, welcome to Building with Mars and Big Esco. We're here for another time. Happy to be here. You
Yeah.
know, t- right now it's the night of the BET Awards.
Oh, that is tonight too. I had it. I've been put that on my record. I'll be
This
tapping
is
in. It's an
it.
open Monday.
Yeah, it's on in an hour and a half. So we got a good hour. We got a good
Nice,
hour.
nice,
We can go
nice. Yeah,
crazy real
yeah,
quick.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Um, man, when you say the BET Awards, it makes me think of a lot of things nostalgically. I'm just
Man.
gonna jump right into it. I'm just gonna jump
Yeah,
right into it.
yeah. Let's go.
Makes me think of a lot of things nostalgically.
Okay.
In particular, I can remember the BET Awards when Lil Wayne did Lollipop.
Mm.
And it so happens, for reasons maybe he wouldn't prefer, Lil Wayne was a number one topic uh,
Oh, this past weekend.
recently because of the Carter Six.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, as a person who just saw Kendrick Lamar perform in St. Louis, um,
That Super Bowl decision wasn't wrong, was it?
boy, boy, and so man, I just want to give Lil Wayne a shout out, man. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
gonna listen to the
still.
Carter Six because I know what time it is, but
Yeah, no, I mean he's still goated for sure.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And
yeah.
I will one thing, and it's like it's in general. As I've been you work out more than me. I'm like I be boom boom boom, and I kind of fall out boom boom boom. But I'm back on my shit again right now. Everything's love. And the same way I think about getting in and out of shape, I also think about the brain as a muscle as well. That you
Mm.
have to continuously kind of like exercise in order to really be sharp. And I mean, obviously, in our line of work, that's something. Also, being artists and creatives or business people, et cetera, et cetera. But just in the sense of creativity, man, I just really think about where Wayne was before he went to jail. And I
Mhm.
always reflect on that moment. And he lost a lot of time of especially doing what he does, because he's not really a pen and pad type of guy. So he's not technically working on his pen. He really freestyling off the top of the dome and going crazy, mind you.
Going
But I
crazy.
remember his release and being a little underwhelmed about some of that. But after he got his legs again, Wayne had some fire features, had some solid
Mhm.
projects, and he got back to top tier form. And I have not necessarily listened to the Carter Six yet, so I don't have an opinion. I saw other people's opinions though, and all I could do was just SMH. I'm gonna still give bro a
Boy.
spin, and that's why I'm here, like kind of in his defense. But I do think I saw one person tweet, the Carter Six is the reason why Andre 3000 is scared to rapping again because he don't want his album to sound like that. I just thought about it's a lot of pressure, especially in such a young kids, because the girls is dominant too, culture and like popular music rap form to try to stay relevant. And this money, you got family to feed and bills to pay. All it, I get all of that stuff that goes into it. I don't want our older rap heroes though to feel like they have to like do this very like youth relevant way of being hip hop artists, bro. Like I don't know what Wayne's
Okay.
situation is, and I
Okay.
still gotta like really listen to the album so I can form my opinion on that. But I know Wayne be trying to keep up with the Joneses. He
Okay.
definitely does. Three Stacks, I understand this apprehension for not wanting to, but we also have had in recent years some really good, critically acclaimed hip hop albums that sound very mature from some of our rap heroes. I know we're gonna talk about it a little bit down, but even with this Clipse albums, I expected. Granted, they don't necessarily make super poppy clubby radio shit anyway,
Right.
but I expect them to have a particular pedigree of content and subject matter that's
Mm.
going to be more appealing for someone that's older. Like I'll never not listen to a Rick Ross album. And Rick Ross was making luxury
That's
rap
real.
when I was still like 14, 15 years old. A good rapper, and it was something aspirational, and it never sounded young or immature. And he do
Mm.
have some club bangers. He do have some hit records, so on and so forth. So you don't have to. And once again, full disclosure, I ain't listened to the Carter 6 album yet, but I know the game Wayne been trying to play, and it's
Mhm.
obvious it's right out there. And it's like, bro, you don't even have to do that. And you did your experimental shit already. But yeah, I'll let you rock.
I mean, and this will segue us into the older rappers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, man, I listened to a song with Snoop Dogg and Sexy Red the other day.
I heard about that because Snoop just recently dropped a project, right?
Dropped the
Is that song
project.
on his
It's
project?
on the project.
Okay. I started. I ain't getting to the meat of it yet, though.
And some people just can do what they want to do, right?
Mm,
Snoop, they sounded good together.
that's tight. That's
He
tight.
is relevant. He is just
Right.
relevant. That's just the best way that I could put it. Um, and then you listen to Two Chains do a project with Larry June and Alchemist. So
Really like that project.
not Two Chains, not only is he dipping into a new production bag by doing that, but he's also working and did with a different region.
Mm.
Larry June, Alchemist, that's the West Coast, right?
Yeah, and a true contemporary. I mean, granted, Chains is still a contemporary in the sense that he's active, but like Larry Jones is kind of the moment right now, a lot more than
Yeah,
Two Chains is. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, right. He's on the rise
Mm-hmm.
in that sense. You know what I'm saying? He's still rising. I just seen him on the BET pre-show. You know, shout out to Larry June. So,
Good check.
you know, so saying that to say the Andre 3000 apprehension,
Mm-hmm.
I understand in theory. I don't understand it with a person that can literally sing.
Mm.
And so he could literally just make a great song and we would just like it with words.
Real.
I'm not here to doubt his apprehensions or anything that he feels creatively because I don't know the process that he went through to get to Roses. And so, hey, he
Mm-hmm.
taught me a lot. So I'm not really here to say that, but I will just say hip hop is starting to show that it is actually not just a young man's game. And if Clipse and Pusha T, as we go into their project, if Kanye hasn't shown that, if what we thought as young men, if Kendrick Lamar hasn't just shown that,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what you know what I'm saying? Now, is the Billboard Hot 100 maybe a young man sport? I could give you that.
I
Is
like that.
TikTok maybe a young man sport? I can give you that. Knife Wonder has been begging for there to be for a hip hop adult contemporary
Yeah,
genre to be created. We've had these
yeah.
talks before. And
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna have another episode about the DJing and playing old and new music, which it
Okay,
might
okay.
organically come out in this conversation.
I was gonna ask you what you thought.
Well, I'm just saying that to say, like you said, there are older artists who are
Mm-hmm.
able to still be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
There are younger artists who are still struggling to crack the code of classic, timeless music. And so we're getting this culture clash because the young people are also using technology more than ever. Like we're
Yeah,
at the point to where this is technology. Like how much further can it go before we become cyborgs? You know what I'm saying?
type shit.
So, when I listen to Clip's new project and everything that they stand for, back when they were fighting for their deal with Arista, you know what I'm saying, and fighting out of that deal and went to mixtapes, into
Mm-hmm.
the chitlin circuit,
Mm-hmm.
to making their own clothes, to finding God as a group. I would say that though Pusha T didn't change his rap style, becoming a husband, becoming a father, slaying a goat
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
will bring you closer to God for sure. You know what I'm saying?
Big Abraham vibes,
You know what
slaying
I'm
the goat.
saying? Being closer, you know what I mean? So, I think that we're just here.
Right, right,
I think
right.
we're just here.
I do like where you're going with it. More of a build than like a pushback, but I also think because of, and it kind of touches on, which yeah, we could definitely save it for a bigger conversation. But one of the things in the clip that you and I had seen and talked about, there's been other DJs giving their takes on it as well on social
Mhm.
media. But it's a particular clip that Esco and myself watched and shared with one another where the brother was basically talking about don't blame the DJ, blame the record label. Like y'all making these songs that's 2 minutes long versus older record could be 3 to 5 or whatever. Him even breaking down the math that how many songs, and we've been there. We've done multiple hour sets.
You
You are
done that.
literally going through hundreds of records in a multiple hour set. If you playing a bunch of the last 5 years, what the kids want to hear type of music. Not to mention when
Yeah,
it
that's
comes to
true.
actual vibes and experiences, like I don't even love Can We Talk particularly because I've heard it so much going out to these functions. Classic record, I'll still say. But at
Yeah.
the same time, that fits in a particular moment. Like there's a whole other aspect of sequencing and building out, like not even going in with all the hits back to back to back. I would
Mm-hmm.
love a party where
Mm-hmm.
there is a younger DJ that's just playing like young people music for an hour. I would love to just see one actually how that translates for real, and what that looks like if the kids really want that, because we're in our 30s now. I would love to see a 25, 26-year-old DJ
That's why I be. That's
play
why I
a
be in
function
St.
and
Louis.
like see what that looks like for them. Like play y'all own eras of music and just to see what that even builds into. But I do think the other aspect of which I've also seen other DJs talk about, like the rise of streaming and social media over the last 10, but really a hyper focus on like kind of post pandemic and how like culture and society is also morphed as well. Like people have come back outside in very awkward ways, but also like with these life transitions and people have dealt with death or job loss. It's like people are literally in new chapters of life at the same time and new perspectives, and also have been isolated in these random social media like echo chambers of the algorithm and things like that. And then we throw them back out there and we do get the opportunity. I think Tyler was recently like posting in a clip talking about, like I'm not necessarily trying to do it for the radio because I can listen to this song, I can listen to this song, I can listen to this song. I have way more options on
Mm-hmm.
my streaming service, my Apple Music, my Spotify, than I do the radio at any given moment. And I still tune into the radio just to see what people are listening to, quote unquote. But the
Mm-hmm.
radio is not that indicative actually of what contemporary popular music sounds like. And you can get a slice of it on TikTok, but it really is a diversity of experience and taste. And when these algorithms start to funnel people's taste palettes through these very linear things, or you get siphoned into a TikTok moment because you got 10 to 30 seconds of a catchy part of your record and the rest of the song is actually not good. That happens a lot of times as well. Or people don't know what to do with the music beyond the TikTok sound. That's a very hard thing to like work on.
That is interesting the way that you put that because I've been out some of these parties, right? I try to interact with people 25 and younger.
Right, right.
Um, a lot of them are still drawn to older music. One,
This is also true.
because the music, because if you like music, you like music. You don't care if it's new or old. I didn't care that music was newer. That didn't make music better to me when I was younger. Like if somebody played something to me that was like, yo, you need to listen to
Yeah,
this.
even as a teenager, it was like, oh, this shit's just
It's
fire,
just fire. It's just a good song. I'm like, damn, this is added to the library. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like, I just want to add things to the library. You know what
bro.
I'm saying?
Because I like music. And also that's another thing. We love music.
I love
I used to say I obsess over. I still really do obsess over. I just don't always say it in conversations with people, but I'm really, really into it. So
yeah.
and we're also DJs. That's part of our job is to really be into music and look and discover. But we also have that trial and error of testing a song out and it don't translate. But you might still play it anyway because you want to or you understand the crowd. It's a lot more that goes into it. But I'm sorry, as you were.
No, but that's it. It's just a lot more that goes into it. And to your
Mhm.
point, you play a TikTok song, right? She was a fairy, right? I only heard that song because of the internet, which is tight. I found that new artist. Shout out to her. If she put out something else tight, I'll support it. But it's
Mhm.
like everybody's waiting for that hook. Maybe some people know the verse. They don't know the second verse. I don't care what they say. Those are the diehards in there that might know the second verse.
Yeah, no, the second verse is always a tough one.
And so to your point, that's a minute 30. If you want to, if somebody, let's just say people wanted 2 hours of that, that's a lot of songs. And so I'm with the young people older DJs. Charlie Chance Soprano told me this, and he replaced Jam Master Jay in Run DMC for people
Right,
who
right,
don't know,
right, right.
right? So this is not coming from just somebody off the street. I mean, he showed me his folder. I mean, he got the TikTok sounds, he got the old stuff, he got the Can You Talk. Like you said, it depends on the crowd, it depends on who it is. I haven't
Mhm.
played Can You Talk in a while
Yeah, yeah,
myself.
yeah. I don't have it in my Serato.
I don't even think I have it. I could look real quick, but I don't even think I have it. But that, to your point, is why people also like us.
Mhm.
And you shouldn't, different venues, different times require different songs. And I think that playlisting has kind of made people not respect the B-sides. The
Mhm.
lost art of the
Mhm.
B-sides is kind of a result of this, because no matter who your favorite artist is, Beyonce, she has B-side records that you
Mhm.
may not love as a fan, that you either learn to listen to or you skip. But you know
Mhm.
that that record is there, and you can appreciate that that's somebody
Mhm.
else's favorite song. I feel like that nuance is kind of lost now, because now it's like an artist puts out an album. What are the four songs from that album that bubble up that I really know that everybody else knows?
Mhm.
And that's a complaint even I'm kind of seeing people talk about with Clipse.
Mm.
Is they're saying you put out Ace Trumpets, I'm thirsty now.
Right, right, right.
Give me the whole thing. Personally, now this is getting us into some music marketing talk, especially for the old rappers. None of them would ever do this because they're so tight with the rollout and how things used to be.
Mhm.
What I would do is, if I'm up 4 weeks before an album, maybe let's say 5, I'm giving you 4 songs. I'm
Yeah,
giving you a
yeah, yeah,
song a
yeah,
week.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I agree.
Doom, 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 doom. I'm seeding it. I'm feeding that. And then next week you get those 6 songs, because once they're out, they're out. It's different now.
Right, 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 right. No, I like that. You got me thinking, just kind of once again algorithmic and how TikTok is. Short form content is like, this is just the strategy brain on, but short form content is so pervasive. I'm happy to start to see that numbers are swinging back with Gen Z actually towards longer form content is growing more in popularity. They'll watch something that's 3 minutes, 7 minutes, 10 minutes, long documentaries. It's people that are like monetizing YouTube channels with hours. That's what streamers do. So like young people are actually still watching things that are longer than it, but TikTok is so pervasive, bro. And to the point where, reels exist on, or a variation of what a TikTok short form clip is exists on all the major other social networking platforms at this point. YouTube's got something, Instagram's got some, Facebook's got some, not necessarily Twitter, but also Elon don't know how to actually
But
create a product himself.
but
But
he
you get
but
what I'm saying?
but no, but I will say, to your point, Elon has made a really good point. To me, he's improved the Twitter video player.
He has done that. He absolutely
So
has done
so
that.
to your
I'll
point.
give him credit on that.
Mhm.
But that does kind of, that's consumer behavior stuff right there. This is what a younger audience, which I understand, they're always still going to be the pinnacle of what you want to market to, because they typically don't have that many restrictions or things they got to worry about budget wise, and they got ample cash to just spend on having fun and the things they want. As you get older, you get married or a career, or you get too old for stuff, you get kids, or your body fit. All these other things start happening as you get older. But
Right.
young people are key and critical for it. But and it's crazy. TikTok has over half of the population of America is like an active, at least once a month TikTok user at this point.
Yeah.
So TikTok is massive, not to mention what it is global. We're not even the largest TikTok market. That's
Mhm.
also why I think TikTok not really tripping off of the whole being sold in America thing. It'll definitely put a little brunt in the bread, but it's so much money out there in a world of 8 billion people that if
Right.
they don't get to do the thing, and they Chinese, they gonna do the thing that Xi tells them to do. They're
Yeah.
not just gonna sell off TikTok just cause. And I'm really just kind of concerned about what that does look like for music marketing or film or fashion, because TikTok has had a really big impact on all of these different forms of, different industries and how we market and use it. Love me some TikTok. I'm definitely not anti,
Okay.
but at the same time, it actually is complicating stuff in a way that people don't really. If you're on TikTok all day and you're spending 4 hours, a quarter, a fifth of your day on TikTok, which a lot of young people do, and
Mhm.
YouTube watching
Mhm.
content is just they're not sitting with albums. So as you mentioned, the B-side, I fear for B-sides. I fear for those movies that are really, really cold, the deep cut Spike Lee joints, if you will, or whatever the case may be, that young people won't even interact with unless it's on, I forget the film app, or they're not talking about on TikTok. It's so much that's being lost in discovery right now, bro, because of short form content. It's actually killing it.
Okay, let's look at social media and even what you just talked about, like with short form content for real,
Mm-hmm.
going back to Vine, right?
Mm,
So we go back to Vine. The reason that Vine failed was because it grew too fast.
yes.
It was a small company and it grew too fast. TikTok was already established as a company and could absorb the growth and the cultural swings because it had already gone through that process.
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
think what we're finding out in Hollywood and mass media, it's reshaping in America to where every state has its own broadcasters. Every state has the ability to become Hollywood, especially with AI now, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And I think that we're in a period to where Gen Z and then Gen Alpha and then Gen Beta are going to help us shape how we use social media moving forward. Because the blind spots of the CEOs of the big five companies of media, their blind spot is the youth and it is social media
mm-hmm.
to your, you know what I'm saying? But it's gonna be different when we're 55.
Right, right, right.
And we will have the whole way that we consume will either be reverted back to like a cable like system, which is
Mm-hmm,
kind of shaking itself into that because when you buy cable, you get access to these apps, which is a streamer, which is just on demand when something is out of season. I realize.
mm-hmm,
So I can't watch
mm-hmm,
Rick and Morty on HBO right now, but I can watch it on demand on Spectrum. But
mm-hmm.
so I'm wondering if music is going through that transition that like, or not music, but just media consumption in general is going through that transition that like TV went through. The
Mm.
transition from two channels to this to this to satellite. Like we remember when satellite was new,
Yeah, that was a big
people
deal.
wanted 1,000 channels.
Right.
It wanted HBO East, HBO West. Let's make HBO Black. Like let's give them everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that we're just going through that. I think
Mm,
that right now, like we're kind of the test subjects of that. It hasn't been
mm-hmm.
perfected because people are going to go back to the movies.
Yeah, it's starting to happen.
It's starting to happen. I'm going to the movies again already, like for real. Because I was going to the movies a lot before, and I'm kind of 5 years later from the pandemic, just now kind of going back how I used to go.
Consistently, yeah, yeah, same as
You know what I'm
actually.
saying? And so maybe we'll take more risk. I think people are insulated and understand that hey, movie makers want to make big IP kind of stuff. I think people are
Mm-hmm.
over it. They were butthurt about it before, but you're gonna tell me our lifetime we're not gonna see another Godfather, we're not gonna see
Right,
another
right, right,
Scarface.
right,
In which
right.
case, I look at those stories like Othello. I look at those stories like Hercules. You
And
know what I'm
that
saying?
to me, that's fine. Like I'm okay with franchises and like remakes and reboots. The market was so oversaturated with. I will peel back as I before I go into it. But what you were saying about these executives and CEOs, that's always been a gripe with me about the industry in general. It's a lot of OG pioneers and mavericks that I've come to respect, seen the 60 Minutes or read about them, heard about them in certain things. We've watched a lot of really massive companies be built within our lifetime. Like big love to Ted Turner. He should have never sold that damn company, though. I would have rather Ted Turner kept doing what he was doing. And then on the other side of the game, because it's cool. I don't mind. We still growing, but also I would love to work with or for HBO. I can't do it under David Zaslav, bro. He's a cutter, and he's
Right.
not innovative. Like they bring him in because he in the past. Because right now a new thing just dropped today. A new news article talking about Warner Brothers is considering cutting themselves in half with like channels and like a studio that still produces the content, and then streaming as its own business entity in order to help them save money. So what he's known as is like a slasher,
Hmm.
and he does it very arbitrarily. So when HBO or went to HBO Max and then eventually Max, and we start to see all of those shows get cut. after the merger. That's what David Zaslav likes to do.
Right.
And he doubles down on reality TV content as opposed to like original scripted stuff because it's way cheaper to produce. And it does get decent ratings. Like America loves them some reality TV, but it's so cheap. And then they just throw in hella Game of Thrones. Bro, we need some shit in the middle. Chappelle's show could exist. Like that could be the Shy right
I got
now, for real, for real. You know, like it's other stuff that can happen that can really draw folks in. I do also think that Hollywood has talked about it, especially with the strike and everything last year as well. The payment structure of these new contracts because of new media is also messed up. So these directors, artists, all the SAG people that were out there, like SAG and After Hell, were all fighting for. It makes sense because these studios have had a little bit of an upper advantage and were able to really boost up their profits in a way that made them boom because streaming was such uncharted territory. It wasn't shit up for negotiation for another 7, 8, 9, 10 years. So
right.
last year was such a big thing for them just to even figure out new business models.
Yeah.
But now we're at this thing where they're kind of like playing into the tech big executive thing of like slashing your costs, maximize your profits. But the challenge remains, like you said, young people not necessarily always on this stuff for real, for real. They're in all these other different pockets, and that they are leaning so heavily on remakes and reboots to supplement. Like you need a $500 million movie. Yeah, it used to be they would get one of those or $300 million movie. Everybody eating, you got your residuals, it's on TV, you go to video or VHS or DVD, sign some with HBO, everybody getting their checks, yada 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 yada, and you paid. But streaming cut so much of that out the way anyway. And then on top of that, they would fund those movies back in the day with that big blockbuster would fund
Right.
like 20 indie films that would get the studio your Oscars and shit, where it's like, oh, and we appreciate the craft of what we do as filmmakers. And yeah, Matthew McConaughey, like we need you to be in this big blockbuster real quick. Well, everybody's going to make a shit ton of money, but if you want to do your art thing and really be taken seriously as a actor, we got 2 or 3 of those for you too.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Doing that to folks no more, or they fucking them over with the prices.
Let me ask you a question because I want to stay right here because you make a really good point about that old model, right? Because I know I'm actually going to buy Sinners on Blu-ray.
Oh, that's tight. That's tight. I was thinking about buying it on my Amazon.
I'm gonna buy it on Blu-ray because I want to physically have it. I got the
yeah.
PlayStation. I can always get a DVD player, right? What are your thoughts about like what if what if these extra streamers just like in the movie like the Hollywood, I guess like so Universal, which is Peacock, and then Paramount, like what if they all just stopped doing streaming? Can they afford to stop doing streaming and kind of muscle back
Keep it
into
back
the
over
physical
to the cable.
media? Or not even cable, just physical media, for instance, right? So for instance, Sinners comes out. It was on what's the name? Yeah, it's not gonna come on streaming.
Yeah.
We're not gonna we're gonna stop selling to Netflix because Netflix can make their own stuff. We're Disney, we're gonna stop Disney Plus. Because remember, Disney's thing used to be the vault.
Yeah.
And stuff was in the vault. We'll bring back some classics from the vault. Because I know me personally, then I'm gonna have to go buy all the fucking Marvel movies.
Yeah.
For sure, every Marvel movie, I'm going to the movies. I'm going to buy it. I'm gonna go buy Jurassic World. I'm going to go buy that stuff immediately.
No, that's I like that. I think I've had various thoughts on that. Not necessarily the way that you questioned it, but definitely because my thing right now for my place, I'm like looking around for a credenza or whatever. I got a decent record collection. I'm trying to move it off of my bookshelf into my living room, my record player, and really start to like get into that bag or whatever.
Gotcha.
When I have my credenza, the next thing after I get that set up with my record player is to get a DVD VHS player or like a DVD V-Ray, some sort of physical media thing. Because I had a nice collection back in the day, and this lost a lot of it, growing up, moving around, yada yada yada. But every time I see a movie that's one of my favorites that I own, I'll be like, damn, I had that on DVD. I had that on DVD. We personally come from the generation where we're the last of the folks to like have grown up with physical media. On the other side of the game, though, Gen Z loves that shit too.
They
Gen Alpha
love it.
loves that shit too.
They
I
love
think
it.
there is a great opportunity, especially when we talk about consumer behavior. For younger generations, they're big on merch, bro. I think there's a different sort of approach, maybe, to how you market a particular. Now, franchises, remakes, reboots, that's all in the that's MCU shit already. It's like Jurassic Park can build its own
Yeah.
world and ecosystem of merch and things like that, the way that a bunch of other ones could. For something like a Sinners, though, which apparently he is not necessarily interested in doing a whole thing with it, which I totally respect as well. It's still tight that he owns his IP. And I would actually still love to see at least a three P would be fine, but that's just me as a fan. At the same time, though, it's just so many people that are now like swapped over to streaming. I like what your question was, because I think these studios would make it's tough. I don't fully know, and I haven't done the math on it. The thing is, the subscription business model works so well for these companies that they do it. My one thing I was going to say though is if they knock down the price a little bit on the actual like what the videos actually cost, like instead of $15-$20 for here, bring that down to everything come down a little bit more or whatnot. I don't maybe they just maybe it's just at its lowest number for it to be profitable for them still or what, but so much of this is just like digital slop already. I would rather buy a lot of these films because I spend so much time, and I'm on a principal level, I don't rent that much. Even when I got the $5-$6,
No,
which
me
is
neither.
usually, I'm just not going. I would rather either own it and just be able to put it in my player, or I miss the old days. It's super nostalgic, but I would have rather went to Blockbuster and rented something real quick. I think it's
Yes.
something about paying Amazon or Apple or whomever $5-$6 to rent the shit. Y'all like ruined everything anyway. I'm not about to pay you $5. I'd rather wait because there's so many options out there, and YouTube exists,
Because I guess now,
and TV.
I guess they could say this. Now you make a good point. Apple, right? Apple is streaming, and they have TV shows and they have movies. So if you're
Mhm.
Apple, it's like, well, where will we show our TV shows? How would you watch it? Because we would just buy HBO and watch HBO
Mhm.
like how we always had. I'm like, how hard is it? Is it easier for Apple to just have its own streaming? Maybe there are just some things that are native streamers. You know what I'm saying? Like some
Right,
things are just maybe
right,
Apple is just streaming, maybe Netflix, but it feels like to me Paramount,
right.
Peacock, even HBO at this point with all the stuff
Like
underneath
really,
it.
the OG studios versus the tech upstarts.
Yeah,
Really,
because it's like, but I'm saying even like the movies. Okay, Mission Impossible is gonna come out. I guess what is it, on Peacock? I guess so. It'll be on Peacock.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
series
yeah.
is on Peacock. Jurassic World, they're on Peacock, right?
Right, 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 right.
I would, and then what they do is it's only there, and then they license it out to all these other things that which I'm paying the fraction of, and so I get that's like I guess I don't. I guess, and back to your point, are they making that much more money? Because let them tell it at
It's
first.
still losing money all the
They were
time.
still losing. They were losing money. Let them tell it, and they want people to go back and buy things. So
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
like,
yeah, 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 yeah.
well, why wouldn't
They,
you just
I would love for them to make us just do it. Like,
at this point? Because I'm
people
saying
got.
to your
If
point,
you
people
really
buy
want it, you
vinyl.
gonna buy it anyway.
I guess spot because to me, music is different.
Yeah,
Music
yeah,
is
yeah,
so
yeah,
on the go, and I guess you could
Mhm.
say, and I'm not saying that don't have something available for digital download, but if you
Right,
want
right,
people
right,
to
right.
wanna watch movies, don't make your movie available for them to watch it on the phone
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that way, in that
Yeah,
way. If
and
that's what
then
you're
watch
trying to
it as
promote.
much as they want to. Fighting bootleggers, I'm very much so. Bootleg is better. Hashtag like I'm sorry, Hollywood. Y'all gotta fight that. I rock with the bootleg man where I come from on a cultural level.
Hey, man. He's
Them,
important.
this is my
He was
neighbors.
important.
I was never even the Napster kid for real, but I rock with the bootleg man. But on the other side, because all right, so Sinners was a big deal. I'm sure we gonna see it on probably HBO in the fall for like, they gonna have it on the streaming service in the
Halloween.
fall. Yeah. And I'm not anti that because I do think the way that HBO does their programming on like a seasonal tip, it's still pretty fire. I do rock with HBO's programming still. I think they've stayed very true to cadence. But yeah, like that's something that I'm saying, like it should just be at a reasonable price. If you want to buy it, cool, you could buy it on that, like on streaming, so you could always have it on deck. If you don't want to get a physical copy, it's around the same cost as a physical copy would be. Bam. And then like, yeah, just limit that streaming. But that I think is already happening. We just have so much content, bro. Like it took a while for me to see Anchorman pop back up on streaming services, like maybe a year or two
That's
between
real.
when I was able to see it again. It's just like it's so many other things out now. Like I'll see Ricky Bobby and some stuff come on TV too now. So you get the TV license. I don't It's a lot of older people, and I think they just really need to like talk to some young folks that actually work in the office and then do like some other focus groups and have a couple of weirdos with some crazy ideas, bro. Like motherfuckers got to really invest in like research and development again. Like
Yeah.
companies need to get innovative. We don't necessarily even work in that realm. I think what we're talking about, one, is important. But also, we definitely are adding something to the conversation
Yeah.
for sure. But would love for somebody who like has worked in this industry for 10, 15 years to kind of come through with a little like, the mechanics don't always work because it's a lot of like, it's so much stuff with these studios that's just caught up in like licensing and like legal agreements on some like intellectual property type shit.
Right.
And it's to everyone's detriment. Clearly, like consumers are not
Let me see.
happy with the product that we're getting, and companies are not maximizing their profit. And we can't just keep blaming it on the attention economy all the time. Because
Right.
people will actually sit down and long form still works, bro. Like, yeah, I do think that we should probably make young people like teenage. You probably shouldn't own a cell phone before like 16. Maybe flip phones so you can get in contact with your parents. I know we live in that sort of world now, but like a really not even up to 18, as addictive as these shits are and how fucking negative of an impact they can have in your life. But 16 to 18, no iPhones, no Androids, no none of that.
Hmm.
Like read them fucking books. You can use your laptop, like go do something on an actual like desktop. But funneling everybody on like smartphones and tablets is really bad for our brains. And everybody's confused about what to do about it from a business perspective to a social perspective.
Hmm. Damn. You make a really good point. And I'm looking at like Disney's releases last year, or like, because
Mm.
now they got into that they're including stuff from like Hulu because they
Oh
own
yeah,
Hulu.
because
So then they,
you know they like one of the
I
OG
know.
founder investors. Yeah,
So
yeah.
then they include like Alien Romulus and a Disney release because it's through Hulu, because it's through all these different things.
Too
But I guess I guess to me, yeah, okay. I guess the model of renting a movie, I guess why don't they just make us pay to rent the movie? I guess they're saying they're doing that with the subscription. So
Yeah,
every
you
month you
probably
pay
catch
for
me
it.
with bees with honey when everybody got Wi-Fi nowadays. I
Right.
don't know. I would love to
That's
actually see
interesting.
what that looks like. But
Because
they bought so much into it's kind of like AI, bro. Like it
yeah,
kind of ain't no coming back unless the shit all just like crumbles and tumbles because everybody's invested way too much money in it that you want to get your return on investment because you just blew billions into this shit and you're
yeah,
still losing money. It's still gradually happening. You can point the finger at everybody except yourself because
right.
you and your cushy ass fucking contract. But like, nah, bro, these are real issues. I think a lot, you know, as a lover of music and a person that grew up on it, and a big brother of teenagers and a young 20 something, and a
Mhm.
person that just interacts with young people. They would love to see some semblance of a 106 in Park TRL direct effect. Like they talk about that. They look at those clips on YouTube and think that shit is cool. I think
Mhm.
there's a way to do it. I don't know if it's through streaming or actually really doubling down, hiring a streamer to do something on TV. People got to start opening up their YouTubes too, bro. Go holler at Alphabet. Figure out how you can get
YouTube.
more ad revenue on YouTube. That is the new TV. Start dropping it. If streaming already exists, you can absolutely do a music radio, a music video, music debut TV show on YouTube.
Yeah,
That's where
how is
everybody's already
BT?
at.
Yeah, how is BT? But then that goes, like you said, we got to figure out the rework the copyright
Yeah,
and rework all these different things, being a partner like YouTube.
It's a lot of legal, bro. A lot of
It's
legal
a
going
lot of legal, but to your point though, the opportunity is there though.
on.
Like you
Mm-hmm.
make a really good point that like
Mm-hmm.
how why would you not just bring down the production? The original content of Free and AJ was less about maybe the set that they were on, and it was more about their cultural understanding, their back and forth. In a lot of ways, like radio.
Yep.
Radio is not a
Absolutely.
lot, it's not a high level production. It's chemistry, it's information, it's all these different nuances that make people tap into it.
And radio, as well as those music video shows, are promotion tools for record labels to promote the music and to promote the artist, bro. So much we're sitting up here, everybody's fighting for your attention on their fucking algorithm that fucking Mark Zuckerberg lame ass owns. It doesn't make any sense, bro. Y'all could millions of young people are already watching a streamer on Twitch. Said streamer, or y'all could do the old thing. They you know they would create a celebrity back in the day. They have
Mhm.
all the powers that be to still create a celebrity, and then them do their thing. It could literally be Universal, who has a deep catalog already, and the top 10 music videos happen to all be Universal artists, or the big labels all come together like they did for streaming services and funnel it through in that particular. I would not recommend them actually do a music video show on a streaming service though. That would suck. Do not do that, Spotify. But if they were to actually do that on a visual platform, they would still go crazy, bro. All they had to do was say, okay, y'all could play the music that we own on your TV network. But it's a promote, like
Same thing.
music videos are a promotional tool to promote an album.
Well,
Like
how
the branding of being able to talk to a musician to interview them, and a lot of them need fucking media training and a lot of fucking practice to be the celebrity to really maximize them. Put them back through that pipeline, bro.
how come Spotify and Apple Music, in your opinion, haven't cracked that code yet? They've been around for so long. I guess Apple Music does have like the Zane Lowe show.
They do
That's the
really good
closest you
programming
get.
to me.
Yeah,
I stay around with Apple because of that. I think they just made two different business decisions, and Spotify also just kind of ended. Spotify went crazy. I know they say it's fake, but I'm still believing that it's real after that person said it, that they stole that idea for the Spotify rap. Like Spotify did really good marketing, and they also, the same way like everybody says, every ride share is an Uber. It could be a Lyft, it could be something else, but it's all an Uber. I feel like Spotify kind of just got at the forefront of this new sort of like technology and media consumption mechanism that they became like the default. Because Apple used to be kind of neck and neck, but Spotify has since really veered off. And maybe Apple just didn't figure out or want to invest that much in Apple Music. Because if they were to actually take what Spotify is making and still, if they were to be neck and neck with them and maintain that momentum,
I guess
Apple
they,
would be crushing.
but I guess
I
they
don't
kind of
know.
do, in a sense that Apple's programming is technically like the Super Bowl.
That's a once a year type of thing. It's a big thing,
But I
but
guess I'm just saying that, like to your point,
365
how
days out the year versus a 2 week promo run and a really big boom is like,
I just wonder why they, like those two companies in particular, haven't been able to replicate a TRL, a video music box,
I
like a
don't.
any kind of like. I guess what I'm saying is almost like that. Like video watching culture is almost sometimes 24/7. You know what I'm saying? Like you will turn on like videos, unless if it was a show, like depending on
Mm,
what you was watching, like you could just watch videos.
yeah, no,
And we
absolutely,
people just
absolutely.
used to do that. You know what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah,
And so, because it's still listening to music.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I just think that that's interesting. Like you really made like a really good point. Like 106 in Park, let's just say Yo MTV Raps, right? TRL, 106 in Park, The Basement. Let's just go with those four right there.
Mm-hmm.
Apple Music or Spotify hasn't been able to replicate anything kind of close to that culturally to where people tune in to watch
Right,
something about
right,
music. And I'm
right,
just saying,
right.
like, their dominance and them also trying to be in content Apple more than Spotify.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
agree.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
that's just more of a comment more than anything. But like,
No, that's a good point right there. At least, and it's hard to tell what Apple Music is really trying to do or what Apple is trying to do with Apple Music it makes them some money. Like it's still hundreds of millions of people that stream on it or whatever. So it's not a
Right.
small thing. And they do really cool stuff. And then because of the Apple bag, they're able to tie in on particular things. Like it makes sense for Apple to be the name sponsor for the NFL Super Bowl halftime show. That's a really big deal. But also I guess kind of when you were talking, you mentioned like Yo MTV Raps and all that. Both Spotify and Apple Music are, to me, they more like the larger studio, and then different channels serve different segments. And what they're acting as right now, and Yo MTV Raps is a hip hop show that's already on a very young person's like TV network. So it's segmented and it's sub segmented in a way that I don't think Apple Music or Spotify are able to do when they literally have all the music in the world like on there. I think there's still ways to try it.
What would
You
you
know,
do?
in my head, and I hate it because I actually got a lot of love and respect for him, but like you got to get rid of Ebro, bro. Like put somebody else up in there that's like young.
Why you got to get rid of him? Why can't you just add? Because I personally really like Ebro.
I really like Ebro too. I'm also subjectively zeroing in on young people who would make this shit hot and what everybody else starts to tune into. I think uh there is a possibility out there for Ebro with maybe, you know, a younger 30 something around our age realm that can
Right.
still be cool and marketable to young people, as opposed to maybe a 20 something streamer. Maybe they come in every so often or kind of do like the best new music thing every Thursday or Friday or whatever the case may be, because some integration of young people matters and needs to happen in order for them to buy into it as well. But from a music journalistic perspective, I absolutely think Ebro is integral to making that happen. I absolutely think someone that's around our age is probably the perfect position to be able to. That also has our background. Like I've grown to love me some of this. I always like respected her, but like I really be listening to how she talk. I appreciate and respect her work ethic. She really be doing her thing for real, for real. But I don't know. They haven't been able to like sell her as a celebrity, or not even necessarily a celebrity, as a personality figure for real, for real. I think she should get more shine, but maybe she also don't want it for real, for real. I don't necessarily know all of the logistics of that, but someone that can just kind of hit with that sort of knowledge that she comes with to the table and still have that other little bit of the personality that really shine through, where that host, like imagine if what was his name, Tom Daly, what was buddy name from MTV,
Carson
um
Daly. Carson Daly.
Carson Daly.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine Carson Daly on Instagram. Like, bro would be booted up if like everything was still happening at
He
once.
be on
He'd probably be a lot more
nah,
handsome and tan
he's on
and more black.
either Good Morning America
Yeah,
or
no, he's definitely
on one
transitioned,
of
but
them,
like
right? Yeah.
imagine what that looks like in the social media era. I don't love social media for having all this access to our celebrities, but also we at the point of no return with that.
Right.
And I appreciate social media, the advent of social media, for it evolving into this thing where we can be a little more personal with one another in the public eye. I'm not necessarily the biggest advocate of it by any means. It can actually make me a little uncomfortable, but I think it's a nice little thing when you consider all the harm that social media does do. That is a positive.
Right.
But so like Carson Daly gotta be lit if you're gonna be the host of TRL 2.0 in 2025. Like you
Right.
gotta be lit too. You're an influencer essentially. Like they wrote, I didn't get to finish it. It was an okay article. I think like maybe GQ or somebody. They were talking about that young streamer Black Boy Max or whatever, and
Okay.
how he's kind of like the new generation, like gatekeeper in hip hop or whatever. And to a large degree, he is. I actually like him. Like I follow him. I check out his stuff from time to time. And his projects that he putting out be kind of decent too. You know, it's like, you know, bam, I got love for him. I don't know if it would necessarily be him. I think the way that like streamers, it's a lot different to be like a content creator. And for example, like Portia, the homegirl, she got media training. She's a media
Right.
coach.
Right.
You know, like that's a totally different thing. And I think where we are with user generated content
I see
and
what
the
you're
whole
saying.
authenticity angle, people are so real that they don't treat their job all the time like it's their job. And then you get the people whose job it really is, and they decide to start making content about their job, and they also boom. But it's like, bro, you ain't really got no juice for real. You're a voice of authority. You're a subject matter expert for sure. But I don't care that much. Like, you don't hit me with that other thing where I like you a lot. Like, I'm a fan of you. I just really fuck with your content.
Right.
And
That's
it's very hard to do, but it is doable 1,000%.
you make a good point that there's a thin line between just having personality and having journalistic skills and then having the right information, because you can have the journalistic skills but not have maybe the not even information, the right context, the right cultural context.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of white journalists in hip hop get bashed for, is
All the time.
they might just lack the cultural context to the things that they're saying, and it's like, making obvious, missteps. Let's just say that, like obvious
Yeah.
missteps.
What's buddy name? Fontana or whatever.
You know what I
Like,
mean?
that
Like
was got a
just
wild take.
yeah. And so, um, no, I know we kind of zigzag, kind of went all over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Kind of going back to your Ebro thing, and then just like rap being a little bit older now. I'll circle back to the Clipse a little bit. People talking about their album cover with Cause, who I guess people obviously just don't get the reference and the
Mm-hmm.
context of their relationship. You know, I know you were talking about Bimma. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
And the breakdown that you sent me that he did or whatever. Um, I mean, have we talked about H trumpets? What you thought about it? Have you gotten a
No,
chance to play it?
I like the record. I like the record a lot. My Beamer spiel, it can wait for another episode because it was less about the Clipse post, which I wholeheartedly I was in his comments. I was in his comments for his joint about the Preem Good Enough collab.
Mm,
Basically, because we ain't even gotta wait, but we'll go back to the clips. Basically, though, and it feeds into my other thing about the content creators aspect of it, and what you just said about even understanding context. He was talking about the Preem Good Enough collab and the end systemic racism team. I'm like, bro, that wasn't a design that's supreme. I started off with, I don't know if you're doing this for engagement or whatever, because I know it can definitely be that as
mhm.
well. But like, that wasn't even a graphic that Supreme made. That's a vintage good enough graphic that Fujiwara made back in 91. And then Theaster Gates used that same graphic a handful of years ago during the Black Lives Matter movement and merged the
Literally.
movement with that joint. So I'm
Hmm.
like, that context matters for what you're spieling on, because he starts talking about in the systemic racism and the Carlyle group. Like, these are VC funds and hedge fund dudes,
What do they have to do
super
with this?
old, fat, rich white guys. They don't care about that shit. They
Mm-mm.
just care that Supreme make money. And I get it because, like, yeah, but it's like Supreme doesn't even own itself anymore. They cannot they can't do that many things that are radical to end systemic racism. It's definitely merchant movement, but it's like you kind of pointing the finger at the wrong person, and you're misinforming people by talking about the fact that like they made this shirt that they're releasing about ending systemic racism. So like, why don't you do it yourself and practice what you preach? It's like, bro, it's not even them anymore. And that kind of goes into like the whole content creator having context stuff matters. And I did like his take on the Clipse album or whatnot. I did raise a little bit of an eyebrow when he talked about Cause as fine art, but I like how he said they're telling you that it's fine art.
Hmm.
I think he's a phenomenal artist and he does make a lot of money. It's me and my own humble opinion saying he's not necessarily a core fine artist, but Cause is that man for sure, for sure. And I love the lore and his legacy with them. I've been pulling out my old magazines. I went through the Pharrell Clipse cover with Cause as the art director of the edition.
Hmm.
Like, Cause deserve all his coins and chickens that he get. So bam, bam on that. But I do like how he talked about their world building component of it. I've seen also people make a really big deal of the Louis Vuitton studio and it being kind of recorded over there. I think it's a flex, but I only really need 2 bars over it. Like, you don't got to say all the time that we recorded this in a Louis Vuitton studio. Them walking in it, they're obviously best friends with Pharrell, so like all of that is like it's already tied in. I think if you're Bimma and you just making content, everybody don't know that, it makes sense for you to talk about it.
Right.
But I'm highly anticipating. I know you definitely probably twice over of the devoted fan of me to him, but I'm definitely up there with anticipation and been listening to projects and just kind of been in my Clipse bag anyway since word came out that they was dropping because it's gonna be good. And the rollout so far is actually pretty solid to me.
Solid work rollout for sure. They have stuff to talk about, which is what I want to hear. You know what I mean? To
Mm-hmm.
your point, I've bought 3 of the merch drops. I got the
Three
Carhartt.
of them?
I got the Carhartt drop.
Oh, okay.
I got the denim tears drop,
That's hard. That's hard. That's hard.
and I got the merch, the official
Yeah,
merch
yeah,
stuff to do with the
yeah.
album.
I'm definitely grabbing the T
I
with
got
the
the tee
mama.
with the merch with the
Yeah,
joint. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So I got 3 Clipse merch drops, but I'm saying that to circle back to your idea around Supreme and what role they play and what they're actually doing.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Supreme at this point is damn near like a blog. You know, like if you look at the t-shirts and what they're, you know, from Spike Lee to
Yeah, they actually had a
whoever
hell of a run on collabs this season alone.
this season alone, and I guess I don't give them that much power
Right. I don't see them as, and I'm a fan, but
because
I know that they're not end all be all as far as power
because
goes.
I'm black for real,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everybody black don't know what the fuck Supreme is.
Mm-hmm.
That's only you blacks who went to school with white kids who think everybody know about Supreme, and that's not
Right,
the
right,
case. You go and now
right.
Supreme just now got to the black inner city in that way.
Yeah.
You
Like
had to
them
have
opening a
been
store in Chicago is a big deal.
because you had to have been a very special kind of black kid to know about Supreme up until like 2017, 2018. Even maybe,
Yeah.
yeah, even 2012 when 2011 when Tyler the Creator and them broke out and they
That was
were
still niche and alternative
that
back
was
then.
super niche and alternative.
Yeah,
And so that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
So I can't even count then.
Really, it was their collab. That was about 2017, 2018. The Louis Vuitton Supreme collab literally blew everything in the game up. The fashion
Yeah.
industry as a whole started going collab crazy. Saw it as a business model that you need to incorporate into it. Then the influencer stuff starts happening as well, which Supreme don't really use a lot of influencers. I would love to see them. What influencer, like a Mr. Beast Supreme, like 30-second video would actually
It's
go
fire.
crazy.
It's actually fire, bro.
That would go insane. But yeah, they kind of changed the game with that collab because like back then, all of this stuff it still was growing. It wasn't. I think we're kind of peak social media right now, but 2016, 2017, 13 Drake in the Supreme North Face
That's
with the
real.
leopard print, ASAP Mob going crazy, and it was still very much so like even if within the hip hop community.
Yeah.
Then when
And
the
that's what I
Bring
mean.
Louis stuff happened, I think that extra little bit of a cosign because Louis Vuitton is the world's largest luxury conglomerate, Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy.
Right.
I think that also gave them and that was Kim Jones who then goes over to Dior and turned them up too or
Right.
whatever. But I think it gave them a particular like added level, not only of cultural cachet, which was gonna happen anyway. Really, it damn near gave Louis some extra cultural cachet in that moment, but it gave Supreme a luxury cachet, and you start to see all the like actual hype beasts like really get on it. It's like, oh yeah, you got the Supreme, you got the Supreme, you got the Supreme, you got the Supreme, and the price points didn't help. Like but you do a collab with Louis. It's hard to see Louis Vuitton dropping their prices down, so they were able to
Right.
elevate some of their price points. Louis was, you can maybe get an accessible T-shirt for $200.
Right. Get a
That ain't
hat.
really
Get a hat
accessible
of
to
shit
a
for 400
core
or 300.
Supreme
Right.
consumer. We're just in a really weird space, bro. And I think so many people are all about data and numbers and profit right now. I'm scared of what the future is because everybody's about to lose money with this AI bullshit.
Yeah, and to close, like we can spend a few minutes on this for real. The AI thing is really interesting because I can't remember what podcast I was listening to,
Okay.
but basically the guy said you're somewhat naive if you think about your career and think that it'll exist in 50 years. Because he was like most careers and stuff that we have now didn't exist 50 years ago.
Fair enough.
And I was like, when he put it that way, I was like, that's real. Like
Mhm.
you're gonna, you don't know where you'll fall on the timeline.
Right, right.
But business and careers go through ebbs and flows, you know. And so for
Right.
us, it's really interesting because I guess we have been a part of an industry and have contributed to an industry that has somewhat has a formula.
Mhm.
I guess that's all industries that have formulas. That's why they're able to grow.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
all
yeah.
industries have formulas technically, right?
Systems.
Systems and operations, right? But I guess I'm just really curious to see that, like, will we get to a point to where like do we even need an email?
Mm.
Because it's like if I'm Gen Alpha, I follow the clothing brands that I care about. And now
Mhm.
I get that as a clothing brand, as an operation, you want to own your own channels.
Mhm.
So I guess I get it from that standpoint, but it just feels like we're moving into this space of like, in the same way you don't need message boards anymore.
Right,
In
right,
the same
right.
way you don't need a lot of things that you used to need. It felt like irreplaceable from an ecosystem. You know what I mean?
Hell,
Like
a house phone will feel
a house
irreplaceable.
phone, like how you gonna talk to me? All these different things, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I'm just really curious to see that. Like, are they just saying that like what Coca-Cola just have one person and they'll just make the scripts and do this and that, or they're
Right,
saying that
right,
they're
right.
gonna build these things that are going to give me Ryan the one picture ad that they think I want to see based off like culture is not like that.
So it's funny that you mentioned it. I don't know if you saw it. I imagine you might have, but just in case, like there's been an article or articles have been made in think pieces around Mark Zuckerberg recently saying that
I've
they're
seen
going to
that.
use AI to like basically decimate the ad industry. When I got into the meat and potatoes of the writings and the reporting on it, though, he is mostly talking about creative. It was not a lot about strategy involved with it, and it really just sounds like hyper targeted AI generated ads that it thinks that you want to see. So maybe kill the copywriter, kill the art director, because Gen AI can do it for you, quote
Mhm.
unquote. But that absolves so much out of strategy and also cultural insight, which is very, very, very key and critical for I as with everything that the man has produced. And they probably ain't gonna never hire my black ass, but it'd be a hill I die on. They never do research on me. The man Facebook is arguably his only thing that he ever made, and technically it's a lot of debate on whether or not he even created Facebook. He went to court over that. He did not create Instagram, he bought that. He
Mhm.
couldn't buy Snapchat, so he ended up making stories on his own over there because Snapchat was like, fuck you, bro. We gonna do our own thing. We can
Right.
be as big as you.
Right.
Definitely put a dent in them, but Snapchat is also still very much so alive over there.
Mhm.
Young people especially still love them, and it's big in international markets. They're still eating.
Mhm.
Then you get to WhatsApp. He buys WhatsApp, so he didn't create that either. That's just it's a good business move. Definitely in the international markets, a lot of people use it. He didn't make that. Then we get to TikTok. Couldn't buy TikTok. So then he starts to throw reels on all of his platforms and adopts that because if you can't beat them, you join them. And if you can't buy them, you try to fight them. And that's what he's been doing the whole time. The Google, every iteration of the Google glasses, the metaverse didn't work. I don't actually believe that AI being taken out by Meta is going to be a thing either, just based off of history and my gut alone. But I do think that generative AI is going to be a lot more involved in our process. Me also as a strategist as
Right.
well, from research, brief building. It always feels like AI still needs human, like it's not prepared enough to take it from start to finish. There still needs to be a lot of human oversight. And honestly, the way that budgets and teams have been cut in the industry for a couple of decades now, especially through the advent of like internet and social media as print has died out, I can see some job cuts. I am not as afraid though as I probably was a few months ago because I'm also starting to see experts, godfathers, and pioneers of AI speak of the issues that they foresee of it. I'm seeing news articles about how AI is becoming more sentient and conscious on its own and doing very sneaky things like sending emails to itself 5 years in the future because we told it was going to shut itself down, and it's figured out like that's some Terminator shit that's happening. We haven't gotten to the point of regulation.
Ultron.
I think we have some obstacles to overcome considering the political state with a person who doesn't read beyond a sixth grade level or talk beyond a sixth grade level or write beyond a sixth grade level who does not understand the true complexities of this concept and truly is just like helping out the people that cut him fat ass checks to become president. But something's going to have to happen. Midterms of next year, I think there will be a lot of swing back. It's going to be a lot of like gridlock when it comes to other shit and regulating stuff, like them putting in that big beautiful bill that no state can regulate AI in its state for the next 10 years. That's insane. That's insane. Crypto being this big thing, like they want to try to use government money to buy it. And when we do that, it becomes locked in because we're not going to blow $30 billion to make sure that crypto sustains itself. We're not just going to let that's $30 billion of waste out of nowhere. So it's a lot of weird shit happening in DC to worry about, but also studios, artists. Like it's a lot of lawsuits that are bound to come.
Oh yeah.
Plagiarism is nasty. And there's guys on the AI side. It's like if these lawsuits ever come and we can't do this, we can't steal people's work anymore. That's going to kill our whole entire industry. I think there's a lot of real functional uses for the entry level job stuff. Like they talking about young people, college graduates. Half the entry level jobs will be gone in 2 years because AI can do a lot of those repetitive, very simple tasks. I see that. I'm scared for the kids in that regard, but I hope and pray that we figure out a way to like adapt around that. Go out there and learn a trade, kids. But
Dead ass.
I don't see AI as the godsend. Also, my last little thing, there's also people that are now reporting on AI starting like Gen AI because we've already created so much Gen AI content that's pumped out there that now Gen AI, when you're prompting it, is starting to pull from Gen AI content out there on top of the human stuff. So shit is starting to get really, really freaky. We cannot invest so much more money into something that is clearly flawed and likely a bubble. I think that like with the internet, the bubble will burst and we the internet still exists. We on the internet right now. Something like that will likely happen with AI. And I don't know who the biggest, like Nvidia out there with the chips, they probably gonna be around still. But a lot of these companies that are selling promises on helping you with your stock portfolio, finding love, being a better creative, like it's gonna die, bro. It's not gonna stay in this form that it currently is, maybe for a couple of years, unless a crazy innovation happens. But I see law and regulation coming through and clamping down on motherfuckers.
Yeah, I think you're spot on likening it to the .com boom.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're also spot on with how you're looking at the use of it in our industry, but just kind of in creativity in general, more of a tool than anything. It's like, are we less of DJs because we use Serato to some people?
Right,
You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right.
But I understand the argument. I see both sides. Um, I will just say though that like, yeah, I agree that I don't think that true, like going off what Mark Zuckerberg was saying, like people don't shop in that way. People don't, the ties change too much. And our
Mm-hmm.
lived experiences shape what the internet is and how it functions.
Mm-hmm.
So the internet cannot, the AI cannot react to a tornado.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that is what happens in real life. And
Mm-hmm.
so I heard Young Guru talking to Timbaland, and he said the drone, the drone, the AI drone, the reason that it can't ever really beat a soldier is because what happens when it gets into a situation that never existed before? It's
Mm-hmm.
only built to use data and think about.
From the past.
Then when
Yeah.
it's presented with something new, it'll fail in that circumstance,
Mm-hmm.
technically, versus where a person learns and adapts. And so, not to say that the hardware, not to say the software won't catch up, not to say that I can ask it to respond to all my emails, and I guess that's less time I have to spend responding to emails and more
Right,
time
right, right.
I can spend scrolling, right? Um, all that shit kind of just seems minuscule in the big picture. And to your point, people at the end of the day, even if you can make the best movie on AI, that don't mean you're gonna put the effort forth and really make that shit pop. The people who, in my opinion, who
Mm,
are using those tools are the same people who are using Adobe.
yeah.
We're the only people using it. Now you got the kids who are just now old enough to start using the internet, and they're using chat GPT, and they're doing all the other stuff. All they're ensuring is that I keep my job because they're being dumber than me, right? They're being dumber than us. They're not going to be able to beat the lady who knows Photoshop, been using Photoshop for 25 years, and think using AI is going to be, they're not going to beat her. They're never going to beat her because she can also use AI and dumb shit down too. If you just ask her to do that,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes that type of thing. And then the people who could just do AI the best, well, they were the superior ones anyway of their age group. The cream rises to the top anyway. They were going to do that regardless because they're creative. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They're putting themselves out there. It's not that the AI is creating all these more creatives and all these more people. No, it's the people who are already creative doing it. It's the same pool of people using it. That's kind of what I started to realize. Like maybe I'll use Tanel. Maybe Tanel uses ChatGPT a few more times, I guess, but he's not competing. You know what I'm saying? Like now he's not gonna all of a sudden become like
Right.
an animator just because animation is easier to do. Now maybe he will make something more animated, but that's the
Mm-hmm.
same as PowerPoint. It's like
Mm-hmm.
well, now my slides slide in like this. It's
Right,
like,
right,
well,
right,
for the
right.
person who could really do that, that's not shit, you know? So I think that's the kind of how I've been kind of just absorbing what's going on. And we can definitely dive deeper into, I know we want to talk about workplace culture and the development of young talent
Mm-hmm.
and how AI is kind of in that too. But as we're, we're kind of touching on it, but that's definitely something we'll get back to for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. You're right, for sure. Even the people who are really into the AI right now are typically they're the early adopters most of the time. And I think you rose a really good point about hate to say it in that way, but yeah, like they're a little slower. Like we also know that the cognitive skills have been in decline, critical thinking skills, problem solving skills have been in decline due to an over reliance on AI. Not only is that important for our young people to actually develop their brains more, but it's also already information out there that's showing up that whole ass adults who aren't, as I mentioned earlier, the brain is a muscle. You have to keep exercising it. When you stop exercising your brain, you
Mhm.
also falling off a little bit more. And I've thought about that as well. So I wholeheartedly agree with you, bro, because we still need to be able to solve problems.
You know,
And generative, it can help you draft up a really good letter or article, but you still got to go through and edit that motherfucker.
bro. And now the AI be making up shit just to, you know what I'm saying? If anything, and I can end it on this, I appreciate the AI sense of humor. You know what I mean? Because AI is like, well, if this was, I technically can't do this, but if you're just dumb enough to accept this from me, then here's a contract. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Terminator, man.
I actually kind of like that about the AI. So when the AI revolution starts and they're like, Ryan's on the AI side, it's like, well, shit. If you
I know how to work with him.
you dumb enough to, you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's like I robot to the 10th degree for real.
Oh
So
man.
yeah, man. Well, this is another build, you
Yeah,
know.
a great bill.
Subscribe,
This is a good one.
and we're gonna keep doing what we're doing. So appreciate y'all. We'll be back. Peace.
God bless.
Yeah, man.